Sorry about that. You see, the camera went down on me. So anyway, let me get back to my never ever tag um, from um, um, okay, family. I wanted to start back on my tag. My battery went out. So, yeah. So, anyway, my tag is SP Nation had done this thing, and so it's called the Never. I've never tag. So, let me get back to my list of things that I've never done. I've never slept with one of my girls' men, husband, boyfriend, jump off, a dude she was trying to get at. I've never done that. I've never ate any pussy. I've never been to prison. I've never. I've never been to. Hmm. Florida. I've never been to Florida. I've never been physically abused by a man. You know, slapped up, you know, drug out, beat down, kicked, slapped. None of that. I've never been any of that by a man. I've never had that happen. Um, I've never touched a snake. What made me think that? I don't know. But I've never done the reptile thing. You know what I'm saying? So how some motherfuckers got iguanas and lizards and shit. I'm cool. Um, never touched a snake. I've never. I've never been with a man's friend. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy that I was kicking it with or whatever, and then one of his dudes tried to get at me, and then I double backed and got with his homeboy. Never did that. I've never. Hmm, mm, I've never had a threesome. I've never ever had a threesome. Um, I'm trying to answer things that you guys don't know about me already. I've never. Hmm. I've never been to China, Bangkok. I've never been to Asia. Um, I've never joined a sorority. I've never. I've never dated a guy in jail. I've never gotten a tattoo. I've never got. Hmm, sorry, y'all. It's late. It's after midnight. I've never. I never had sex in my parents' bed. I've never taken any money from my mother's purse. I've never stole the family car. I've never. Hmm. Sorry. Um, I've never had a C-section. I never. Let's see. Well, I was gonna say, yeah, well, yeah, I did do that. I've never. I've never been on a roller coaster. I'm talking about a serious roller coaster that have like them big drops and stuff. I'm afraid of heights, so I've never been on anything like that. I've never been in a hot air balloon. I've never snorkeled. I've never, and though I love to swim, I've been swimming in beautiful water, but I've never, had the whole get up on and done a little snorkeling. Never did that. Um, I've never been in a helicopter. Um, hmm. I've never done any illicit drugs like, ecstasy pills, crystal meth, PCP, angel dust, cocaine, crack. I've never done any of that kinds of stuff. Smoke some weed. Woohoo! I smoke some weed. But I ain't never been on no serious, had no real serious head change. I never had that. I've never I never willfully sought out another woman's husband. I have dated men that never said that they were married and then come to find out later on that they were married. But I never just knew that your ass was married and then sought you out like, I'm going to do what your wife didn't do, that type of thing. I never did that before. I never had a child out of wedlock. I've I've never sang in a choir. I hmm, I never joined um, any type of religion other than just regular. I mean, growing up, my mom was Church of God in Christ, so I don't know anything about Jehovah Witness or Muslims and Catholics and stuff like that. I've never ventured into those religions. I have respect for them, but I'm just not knowing about them. So never did that. I've never been the well, I can't say that. Um, I'm tired, y'all. Shit. Sorry, babe. I've never. Hmm. I've never had a felony. Um, I've never been evicted. I've never had a car repoed. I've never I never went without food. I've never as a child growing up, I never went without Christmas. Um, I've never known what it feels like to not have a dad. I don't know what that is. Growing up, I was in a nucleus home. I had a mother and father in the same home. And so that's all I knew. I didn't know until after I got older and stuff like that, people actually were living like that because growing up, all of my parents, their friends were couples, and so the kids, we all played together, and so it was always like that. You know what I mean? I just it just wasn't it wasn't prevalent like it is today. Like now, it once the '80s hit, it was just a whole different lifestyle just jumped off. A lot of people that were born before 1980, well, let's say 1975, they were raised a little bit differently. the parents were really parents at that time, and parents were always older parents. It wasn't like, it wasn't real prevalent to see a mother, uh, 16 years old and have children. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you was getting your ass whooped by the neighbor and everybody else. You know what I mean? It was really big mamas at that time. Um, so I didn't know anything about uh I didn't know anything about um there's a field trip and or some type of function in my parents. I wish my dad would come, or I don't know what that kind of life is. Now that I've gotten older, yes, I think I was just pretty much I was sheltered as a child, and I just was just so not knowing about a whole lot of things. And even still today, I still, some of the things that people go through, and some of the things that I hear, and certain things that I witness. It's like, wow. Not to say that I'm better than anybody. It's just the fact that I never went through some of those things that some people go through. I just never had. Does that make me an alien, or does that make me um better than, or any of that? No, it just means that I'm just, not knowing. So, um, I've never, I've never sold drugs. I've never sold blood, you know, sold your blood and stuff. I saw it on a talk show that, the guy was saying, this chick was saying that she was selling her blood, to feed her children and stuff. I think that was Maury Povich. I've never sold blood. I've donated a great deal of blood. I'm actually O positive, so I'm a universal donor. But anyway, so no, I've never sold any blood. I've never received Social Security. I've never joined the armed forces. Never. Um, I guess that's it. I can't think of nothing else. I can't think of anything else. I never slept with any of my sister's men. Never did that. Um, I guess that's it. I can't think of anything else. Anyway, all right, baby. Thank you for allowing me to do your tag. I was watching you do it, and I thought it was kind of cute. So I was like, I think I could do that. So anyway, I hope that I was successful with it, even though I'm tired as all get out. I'm yawning about 4 or 5 times. Yeah, I'm tired of motherfucker. I'm just telling you that right now. So I ain't never had no clean mouth. How about that? I ain't never had a clean mouth. I think even as a child, no, because my parents, they didn't allow us to do any cussing, so we couldn't say butt, booty. We had to say backside. We couldn't say you told a lie. We had to say you told a story. Um, so I guess it wasn't until after my dad passed that I began to, my mouth began to get a little braggedy. You know what I'm saying? But up until my father passed, I don't know what that was, because, I didn't step out of my marriage or any of those things. I just didn't want to. I don't know what it was with my dad when my dad was living, but I guess it was just something that he was an authority figure, and and it was just, I don't know. So I don't know. But anyway, baby, I hope I answered your tag. I don't know if I did it as good as you did it. Shit, I mean, cause you was rattling them off. I couldn't even do it like that. I don't know how you did it like that. Um, so anyway, I hope I did it right. All right, family. Deuces. Love you.